the tree huggers and the pro-environmentalists, why do you think it is that you were the only top figure covering what was happening in East Palestine, Ohio? I know we have regulatory capture, but I still cannot understand why the left and CNN and MSNBC have not covered this.
Well, because they hate the people who live there, that's why. And the only reason I was interested in it is because I live in a place that's so similar to East Palestine. Same kind of population, former industrial center. I mean, my town was never an industrial center. There were two mills. One made clothespins, the other made dowels for thread. So it was always kind of low-level, working-class manufacturing, but those went away in the 80s, and the people there have been either moving away or getting addicted to fentanyl ever since, and being unemployed and sad. So, I mean, I've lived it. I mean, I haven't lived that. I have seen it. I've lived around it on and off my whole life. And what's amazing is not that manufacturing died, but that nobody cared that it died, and nobody cared about the human wreckage left behind. And it enraged me. And you know exactly why they didn't care, because the demographic was wrong. That's just true. And I hate that. You either believe that all human lives are equal, not equal in their ability, but equal in their moral value, because God created us all, or you don't. That all lives matter. You either believe that or you don't. And I believe that. And they don't believe that. And they don't believe in God. They're atheists. True. They think they're God. And they can assign value to human life. But I don't believe that. I didn't create people. I didn't create the world. I just showed up here in 1969, and I'll be gone soon. So I'm not the author of life. And so I have to kind of respect what's clearly true, which is that all human life is equal in value. Period. It doesn't mean all human life is equal in computer programming, but it means when it really comes down to it, on our deathbeds, we're all the same. And they don't believe that, and it enrages me. And, you know, people are like, well, you're just saying that because you're white. Right. First of all, I'm from a working class white background. Like, I have less in common with the people of East Palestine on some cultural level than I have in common with some Princeton-educated black guy who lives next to me in DC. I mean, I'm just being honest. It's not about sharing the same skin color. It's about sharing the same humanity. And the people in Washington, the people in charge of the West, don't think that way at all. They think that some population should be exalted and given special privileges, and others should be allowed to die. And I think it's totally grotesque. I'm so offended by that, I can barely stand it. And I remember when someone came out and said during the summer of 2020, after George Floyd died, someone's like, well, all lives matter. And the guy was fired for it. And no politician stood up and said, I'm just telling you, in point of fact, as a factual matter, all lives matter. There was not one politician who had the huevos to say that. And I remember thinking, I don't even recognize this country. If that's a white supremacist sentiment, I mean, what are you even talking about? That's a Christian sentiment. It's a human sentiment. And they were allowed to take that position unchallenged, and the result is the fentanyl crisis, which again, they ignore, East Palestine, which they ignore, and the general poverty and desperation of rural America. And if you don't believe that, get in the car and drive for 500 miles and see what your country looks like. I mean, again, I live there, so I see it every day. It's like they don't care. Well, their not caring disqualifies them from leadership and means that I will spend the rest of my life trying to shame, humiliate, and eject them from office. I mean that.